back. It is
We
episode
are back.
167 of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, and with me, as always, is the great, if I can figure out how to point at him, right there.
Carcass John.
And can I still say new and improved?
Not really anymore. New.
Not really. He's not really new. I don't know how
he's
improved he is.
Been here for most of the episodes now.
Yeah.
The great.
Well, it's
None
new
more
and
back.
improved because we have a cool guest.
Yes, we do.
That's why it's new and improved.
Yes, we do. So I will go ahead and announce that we have the great Chris O'Toole with us today from Unearth, as well as Turbid North, and we're going to figure out how long he and Carcass go back. We're going to talk about my T-shirt, and we're going to get some road updates and all that. So we're going to skip the shout-outs and everything unless somebody's got something quick or something you want to show real fast. We'll just get right into it.
No, let's get right into it.
Get right into it. It's Valentine's Day, man. Some of us have, obligations afterwards.
Date with the Metal Queen, huh?
You bet.
Okay, Circus. You better take your vitamins or whatever you old people like you do.
Old people.
You got me by 10 years. That's old. Well, Chris, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it very much. To start, I want to tell the story of my T-shirt. Obviously, I haven't really worn any branded T-shirts on the show lately, except I had a Mothership hoodie a few weeks back. But if some of you go back far enough with the Metal Roundtable, you will know that we had Chris and the drummer on the show 5 years ago, I think. And when we were on the bus, Carcass and I had already visited the merch table, and I left this shirt and the Unearth Wayne's World shirt on the bus. And so it finished the Warp Tour on the bus with Chris, and he very kindly returned them to John, and then John returned them to me. So wasn't that an exciting story?
Even the shirts go on tour when you go on with Unearth.
That's
I think we used it as a rag for 4 or 5 weeks. I did tell you.
Oh, beautiful. That's what, so I knew that something was up, because I usually smell delicious, but this thing, man.
Is that like the sweaty Elvis hanky? Kind of like something like that? Anyway.
Well, there's always some kind of toxic substance on the floor of those vans. They get pretty filthy, so
oh yeah,
it helps us work as a mop when something gets spilled.
Right. Well, thank you for coming clean on that, so to speak. I appreciate the lineage of my shirt, and in all fairness, I suppose the shirt would have been on tour with you anyway had it not sold, but it did to me. So here we are.
I can't remember what stop the Dallas date was on the Warp Tour. It was a bit of a blur, that run. Do you remember if that was the middle of the tour or towards the end? I really can't remember.
I think it was. I actually think it was towards the end. I think you had 3 or 4 shows left after that one, or
That's
2 or 3 shows.
That's probably why I kept it safe, because towards the end of the tour, we start running out of sizes and shirts.
Yeah. I don't remember. I know the next day I left for Canada. So that would have been around the July 4th or 5th or something like that of that year. But I don't remember. But I was glad to get it. And so I appreciate you protecting my shirt for me.
Anytime. You paid hard-earned money for it.
Yes. Thank you. So one of the things that I want to know, Carcass, you and I have been friends for a few years now. And you told me that you had known Chris. How did you guys get to know each other?
Do you want me to go first, Chris, and then you can clean up my mess, or do you want to go?
I seem to remember it being originally Metal Fest, was it? One of those
that's
all-day
exactly right.
events. And we were Turbid North playing.
Yes, I think you were actually upstairs. This was an old movie theater, and they had converted the balcony into a separate room, and they had a lounge up by the bar that actually had a stage. So there were 3 separate stages: the main ballroom downstairs, or the main theater downstairs, a small cubby hole upstairs, and then the one by the bar. And I think I was just randomly walking around. I was not that familiar with the scene at the time, and I wandered down the hall because couldn't believe the thunder I was hearing coming out of that room, and there it was Turbid North, and somehow I gravitate towards heavy. I know that's shocking to know, but anyway.
So we were playing upstairs or downstairs?
I think you were playing upstairs that day. Seemed like it was a Saturday, late evening, and but I don't know. I could be wrong. That was some time ago. That was I don't know what, 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, that was right when I first moved up here. So when did you? Now there's a story behind Turbid North too, because they were a band from Alaska of all places, and then of course Chris is from England. So maybe put those two pieces together, and then we can kind of figure out kind of when we met, because it's been a long time friendship. In fact, they practically lived in my house and practiced here and recorded scratch tracks. And
we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we're very grateful for it. We are too. So the band originally started in Fairbanks, Alaska, and at some point they developed a local following strong enough to start opening for bigger bands that came up to Anchorage. So I believe they opened up for Darkest Hour, and they also opened up for Drowning Pool. Drowning Pool being from Dallas. And it was at the time where they were especially popular, and Pantera was as big as they'd ever been. And the guys in Drowning Pool said to Turbid North, hey, you guys should consider moving to Texas and, seeing if things kick off with the band. And so they saved up working as lumberjacks and got in a van and packed as much gear as they could and moved down to Fort Worth, Texas. Now, they had a MySpace page at the time with some songs, and I already knew I was coming over to DFW because I was getting married, and I was checking all the metal bands in DFW to see what was out there and see if any of them needed a bassist. And I checked out the Destro, Within Chaos. What was that band from Lubbock? Negative 263. There was a few. And anyway, I came across Turbid North, brackets, need a bassist. And I figured that they were moving down, and they had this cool Pantera style at the time, if you remember that EP, John.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I got in contact with them and said, hey, I'm a bassist. I'll be available in a few months. And so I went and auditioned, and we got very well, and that was that. Their bassist, unfortunately, couldn't make the trip down from Alaska because I think he had some decent paying job, and it would have been too risky for him to jump ship at that time. Mm-hmm. And then when John and I met, I assume it was one of the many shows we played at the Ridgely Theatre. So
yeah, I think I bought the what was it called, Call to the Caves EP, or was that the name of the they had like a full length that had like
I
8 songs.
I never even heard that one. The one with the purple and black cover.
Oh,
that was
yeah,
Under
yeah.
the 8. That was called Under the 8.
Under the 8, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of their first major release, and even that was a little bit still kind of on the Pantera side of things, but
it was definitely everyone was so young at that time. I think it's fair. There's no shame in saying it was Pantera worship, but it was still good.
Yeah, no, it was very good, and live, you guys were incredible. I don't think DFW had quite seen. I mean, the bands that you mentioned, and no offense to them, but they really couldn't hold a candle to your heaviness and just the technical abilities that the band had. They were all really good.
Well, if you remember, the drummer and the guitarist Adam and Alex, their parents were both symphony musicians up in Fairbanks. Mm-hmm. So and I think Adam, the drummer, he even played percussion in the symphony a few times.
Correct.
So they had a real classical background, and with that came a real disciplined work ethic. So we would all rehearse every day. I got a job working at Canteen Laredo when I first came over in Fort Worth, Mexican restaurant, and I remember going in for the morning shift every day and then driving up from downtown Fort Worth up to Keller and rehearsing for an hour and then driving back down. We did that every single day. And then we did it weekends too. If we didn't have a gig, we practice all the time. And I think that's probably what separated us a little bit from the other bands locally, because I don't know they were as disciplined when it came to rehearsals.
Yeah, now they had a house over in Keller, not too far from where I live now, that became a very popular place because Turbid was always playing.
Yeah.
And there was always something going on there. It was kind of a, kind of like the
it was the party house.
Yeah, it was a party house.
Yeah. So I wasn't living there, but the rest of the guys were. And then slowly we just kept on playing, and it got to the point where we were touring nationally, and it's just levels of commitment and more time you have to dedicate to it and more you have to sacrifice. And after a while, some people get exhausted and fed up with it. That's kind of what happened. The singer decided he just didn't want to tour nationally. Jason, real great, really awesome musician. I mean, his vocals were so similar to Phil Anselmo.
Yeah,
almost to his and our detriment, because people would just compare us so close to Pantera because of that. And that was rather devastating when he left. But then Brian joined the band from Debris. Brian McCoy, as you well know, and he took over the reins, and the band took a more death metal journey with the next album, Orogeny. And that's when the guys literally locked themselves in their bedrooms and wrote. And then we did Orogeny, and then that album got signed to Trevor Phipps, the singer from Unearth, his record label Ironclad. And this is me just going through the story, but
go for it.
Please, I love it.
I'm just following along. So
this is everything I want to know.
I don't know if this is boring, but
no, this is what I want to know.
Okay, so then at this point, I'm in communication with Trevor often about the record being released and distribution and things like that. How the band's doing, T-shirts. We opened up for Unearth several times. I think once in Las Vegas, another time in Lubbock. I can't remember the other places. I know there was a couple more. And then Adam and Alex dropped out of the band at some point, the drummer and the guitarist.
That happened when you were here at Casa de Carcass. They it was very strange too. It was right after a practice, and the next day, they had access to the house. Just my front living room was the studio basically, and they had free reign to come and go. We had kind of a curfew as to when the music had to not be so loud, but they had just had a rehearsal, as I remember. And I remember coming back from work, and I saw Alex going the other direction, and he had his equipment with him. And I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm just gonna, take this home and write a few things and, whatever." And then we never saw him again. Well, I saw him again, but he just didn't feel. I guess that was where he bailed.
I'm getting a bit foggy about what happened there. I know that Adam stepped away first, and
right.
then Jono came in to replace Adam. And as they were brothers, I got the impression maybe Alex wasn't enjoying it so much.
That could have been.
But you'll have to double check. You'll have to get Nick Forkel, the guitarist singer for Turbid North, on and get his, because he was with the band all the way in Alaska, so he's got all the juicy details. And I dare say his memory is better than mine after 10 years of punishment on the road with Unearth. But anyway, at some point we were rehearsing. It was Nick, Jono, and I, and I think this was later on after Eyes Alive. I think either before. God, my memory's terrible when it comes to this. But anyway, I heard through the grapevine through Jono's friend and our friend Nick MD from the Destro. He also plays in Shock Withdrawal and another band from LA. What's the name of that? Contra Cult. Anyway, nice guy, and he went to see Unearth in Boston or LA, and apparently they had a fill-in bassist who didn't really fit in all that well. And Jono said to me, "You should consider hitting up Trevor." And we joked, and I said, "I'm sorry, guys, Turbid North is completely booked all this year and next year. I wouldn't have the time." And we kind of giggled. I was sarcastic. But then I sort of scratched my head, and then I went home and I called Trevor just to double check to see if it was possible. And then he said, "Yeah, if you're interested, maybe send some videos." So I recorded myself playing 8 songs in their catalog that I liked and sent them to Buzz and Trevor. And they said, "Okay, great. You can clearly play the songs. We'll see you in 3 weeks with Crowbar in Florida." And that was my first tour. I think it was Black Crown, Initiate, Crowbar, and Unearth. Crowbar went last.
So the first time you played live with the band was literally the first time that you played with the band? Surely you rehearsed before you went out.
No, I don't think I did.
Wow.
Because I proved to them I could play the songs on YouTube.
Right.
You know, just playing through, and
Still.
I got a pretty not to be a sick brag, but I got a pretty good ear. And so did the guys, so they could see that I was playing all the right notes. Right. And anytime if I was hitting a bum note or something, I always get corrected, so it wasn't an issue. And it wasn't. I don't think it was a massive tour. It wasn't like it was in front of thousands and thousands of people. It was probably 200 to 500 a night. Pretty, kind of a club tour of the East Coast, going from Florida to Boston, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So was that part of the photo shoot in front of that piece of sculpture in the Fort Worth Art Museum? What was that? You were
with Turbid or Unearth?
No, that with Unearth, where you were trying to. I can't remember. You were. I just remember I was working, doing a renovation down there, and you had mentioned that you were going to take some pictures there in front of that giant architectural monstrosity that they had, and I just thought it was funny.
Oh, you're talking about the museum in Fort Worth? The
art museum.
Oh no, that was much more recently. That was during COVID. So that was
okay.
I did a side project song during the pandemic with the guitarist.
Oh, that's right.
Mitz from Madball and Jono Garrett from Turbid North, and who else was on it? The guitarist Gilliam from Entombed AD, and the singers from a band called Internal Struggle. And that was just a one-off single that we put out there, and everyone was just going to do it from their bedroom, but everyone was doing those songs and videos from their bedroom back in the day, if you remember. It seemed like every week there was one of these things. And so I thought, well, rather than just recording myself in my living room, I'll go to a monument and headbang. There were a couple of homeless people watching me with some suspicion as I was headbanging at 5 a.m. because I tried to get it during sunrise. I probably took it a little bit too seriously, if I'm honest with myself.
No, I don't think you did. I thought it was perfect.
I'd like to have walked up on that. I bet that would have been funny. So you did the first tour with those guys after auditioning over, video, and the rest is history. So now it's been coming up on 10 years, right?
Yeah. So I joined that. The Unearth had just released Watchers of Rule, and so I toured for I guess 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years on that album, and then we worked on Extinctions. So that was my first album with them, and we toured off that for 3 or 4 years. The last tour we did was with Prong in Europe, and we were actually in Milan when COVID hit. It was really strange. We were walking around and everyone was wearing a mask. We thought, you're used to seeing this kind of, the masks in Japan or Asia, but not in Europe. And then we came back to the venue, and from then on, I think there was 10 days left. Every gig got less attended, and the promoters were coming back to us and saying, yeah, this pandemic looks like it's going to be pretty serious. Everyone's really worried. And then even if they had tickets, they weren't attending because they were afraid of catching it. So that put the kibosh and put an end to that album cycle. And it's not the end of the world. I think we probably had another year for that one, but compared to some other bands who had just released an album and then the pandemic hit, they were much worse off. A lot of those albums just got completely brushed under the carpet. I'm sure we could think of some examples. Sorry, go on.
Oh, no. So when you're in the middle of a tour like that, and if you said this and I missed it, I apologize. But so everything gets shut down. Did you actually finish the dates, or how do the logistics happen when a band is out in a foreign country? Pandemic shuts everything down. I mean, was it hard to get back home, or how did that all come about?
No, we finished it off. There was talk about us cancelling and going home because the shows were getting worse and worse, but the promoters didn't really know what to do. We didn't know what to do. We thought, well, we've got a full bus. And at the time, I think Carcass came out and said, we play, end of story. And we thought, well, if they're going to play, then we should play.
Yeah.
So we finished it off, and it wasn't a massive run. It wasn't 6 or 7 weeks. It was only 3 weeks or so. It wasn't too bad. So we just thought, and the promoters, some of them appreciated it. I think some of them probably would prefer to just cancel altogether. But I know some of these in Europe, a lot of the venues, they have access to funds from the local government for the arts. And I think that those funds help some of those venues out when the shit hit the fan over there.
Right. So if we can switch back to Turbid for just a minute.
Sure.
So was your first album with Turbid North, Eyes Alive?
No, I did Orogeny too.
Okay.
And and is nobody interested in what orogeny is? Because when I heard the name, I was like, it sounds like a dirty word, but it really isn't. In fact, if you know the definition of what orogeny is, it really is perfect for the album. Because isn't that the science of the formation of mountains?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
I believe it is. I think it's the formation of mountains from the movement of tectonic plates.
Yeah.
We should probably fact check that. We should probably fact check that so I don't embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Something to do with like the plates in the earth, right?
Yes.
Basically, the shifting of the plates. Yeah.
But that album was exceptional. I thought, how do you go from, and no offense to the first full length, Under the Eight, because it was great, but it was a massive Teutonic shift, just like the plates of the earth to what that was.
Yeah, and that's where my question was headed. You talk about the one being so much Pantera worship. What was the decision making to go more in what I consider Eyes Alive Pink Floyd of death metal? It's just so well thought out, and I'm going back and realizing that I've got a hole in my Turbid North catalog that I didn't realize that I had. So I thought it went from Under the Eight to Eyes Alive. So I was ignorant about orogeny. And
you've not heard it? You've not heard orogeny
before? No.
Oh.
So what was the shift in sound? Obviously that was intentional.
Well, as far as I know, this would be another question for Nick Forkel, but as far as I remember, Under the Eight was predominantly written by the Rudlinsky brothers and Jason and the bassist at the time. I'm not sure about the bassist, but I know that Nick joined, I think, either during that process or at the end of that process, or I'm not sure. Maybe he just didn't have as much artistic input in Under the Eight. You'll have to double check that with him. But I know that during Orogeny, Nick took more control because he was producing the album. He did all the production on Orogeny, and also Eyes Alive and the newest album, The Decline. And so I think his artistic input was much strongly felt in Orogeny. And then on top of that, the band's older, more experienced, been playing every day and playing all these shows. So the band in general was more accomplished. And we also all definitely had a huge love for Pink Floyd. And at the time, whenever that album was released, do you remember what year it was released, John?
2009? 3?
9? Oh, whatever. I can't remember what it is. But
Yeah.
so at the time, death metal was much more. I feel like the modern death metal sound was much more relevant, and so our idea was to blend the extreme death metal with Pink Floyd, add some Crowbar, add some Mastodon, Baroness, proggy stuff in there, and then that's what came out the other end. That was what we all had in mind.
Well, you nailed it, because as soon as I heard it, well, Carcass has always touted that album to me, and Carcass is my gateway to all things, on the more extreme end of music. There it is.
Yeah.
And so he kept telling me when we first met, he's like, man, you've got to check out Turbid North. You've got to check out this Eyes Alive album. And I got it, and sure enough, it hit home with me, and man, it's fantastic. I can't say enough about it. We've talked about it many times on the show, being Pink Floyd of death metal. So I think it's funny that you say that was exactly the influence.
We tried to shoot for it. It was really tricky. I think these days, blending of extreme different opposite ends of musical categories and genres seems to be a little bit more normalized. But back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, it kind of fell on deaf ears, to be completely honest with you. I mean, of course, people love the heavy stuff, and a lot of our shows were to heavy metal fans. But would you believe that Pink Floyd fans aren't massive fans of death metal? And the truth is, a lot of death metal fans, if they're the real hardcore death metal fans, they're not really big fans of Pink Floyd.
Right.
I'd have never thought that. I even mentioned I met the drummer from Meshuggah at NAMM one year, I think shortly after joining Unearth, and I told him how I joined the band and the other band, Turbid North. And he tried and sum it up. He was like, hey, it's like death metal meets Pink Floyd, and he kind of made fun of me and said, shine on, you crazy diamond.
Yeah, 2010, Chris. That's the release.
2010, there you go.
Yeah, Orogeny release. And
that's actually a cool album, because the guitarist Alex, he's a really good artist.
Oh yeah.
He did a piece of art for every single song on the album. So there's 10 individual pieces of art that go along with it. We had this big idea to release it on vinyl, but the idea got too costly. I mean, maybe one year down the line we'll do it. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, the hoodie, the hoodie has each piece, each song on the arms, and then the back and the front.
Yeah,
as I remember.
We weren't much concerned about financial gain for this project. It was all an artistic goal, and we've kept it going, because even though the sound has changed through the different albums, it's still the same mentality of blending extremes of genres.
Right.
Have you heard the new album at all?
I've heard a few songs from it. I was going to ask the question when I got around to it, but is it going to be coming out in a physical format at any point?
We're going to be printing off some for this European tour on CD, I believe. We might, that again, that's not a question for Nick, because he manages and controls all the business with Turbid North these days since I've been with Unearth. I believe we're going to be printing off some to sell at shows, But this European tour with Unearth and Misery Index in April is the first time the band's played in, I think, 6 years or so, or at least with me in the lineup. I know they had Brian and Steve Crawford filling in on bass for a few shows. But yeah, I know we're going to have T-shirts. We're going to have some CDs. That's all I know. And
all right,
check with Mr. Forkel.
We're there.
I got your back, man. Don't worry about it.
We're going. We're going to go see Chris open up for himself.
That's right. So speaking of that, you and I briefly touched on that. That's got to be a grueling opportunity. I mean, it sounds like it's a great opportunity for you, but because as we had talked earlier, this is what you have chosen to do with your life, and you finally were able to realize your dream and being a band with some substance and touring the world and et cetera, et cetera. But now to be opening or to be playing in 2 bands at the same time on the same tour, that's got to be a little imposing, right?
Yeah, I've played double duty before. When Unearth had played Fort Worth, but those sets were back to back. So Turbid North was supporting Unearth. This time, Turbid North will be opening up, and it's going to be a break, I think, of probably 3 hours between the 2 sets. So it's 21 days, 21 shows in a row. It's going to be grueling, but the thing is, so much effort has gone into this band. You got to do what you got to do, and I'm sure I'll have to take it easy on the libations at night and hydrate. And I dare say I'll probably eat vegetarian just to try to keep my weight down. I mean, we'll see. I get if I struggle, I'll struggle. But I think a lot of the gigs are close to each other. It's not 8 or 12 hour drives. I think a lot of them are 2 or 3 hours in between.
I'm checking out the tour dates now. So, okay. Well, so unless we go to the Netherlands, UK, France, Sweden, or Belgium, we will miss that tour.
What's stopping us?
Right.
So, any talk of maybe some stuff stateside with that package, or doing Turbid Unearth here in the States?
Everything seems to be up in the air right now with Unearth. We had some good news. Our latest single, The Wretched and the Ruinous, was debuted at number 2 on the Devil's Dozen on Sirius XM Liquid Metal. And we just a few days ago we just overtook Metallica for the number 1 spot, and we're the first band to overtake them since November, because they've released a couple of singles, haven't they, Metallica?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the reception of the new single is really positive, probably more positive than the record label and management and booking agents were expecting. We always knew, obviously.
Of course you did.
Naturally. And I posted the link to the new video at the top of the show, and I'm going to go ahead and add that now. But just to reset, we've got Chris O'Toole with us from Turbid North and Unearth, and to me, we are getting a fascinating lesson in his history in Turbid North. And I was going to ask how you got into Unearth, so that was great info. What are the plans for albums for each of the bands?
Well, Turbid North released the album in January. I think it was January the 20th, and that was purely on digital.
Oh,
format.
that's right.
So
That's right.
We didn't do a physical release, and the Unearth record right now is tentatively booked for a release on May 5th, but it's not confirmed. We're going to release 4 singles between now and the time we release the album, and the first single has done really well, obviously. So we'll see how it goes with the other single releases. But I do know that a lot of work has gone into this Unearth album. Buzz locked himself in his studio and just wrote hundreds and hundreds of riffs, and really took a lot of time building these songs. And we actually recorded 17 songs for the new album, and then we I guess condense them down and chopped down to 12 songs. It was really difficult. So I think the new album is as strong as the best albums on Earth have released. And we're still planning a US tour right now, but we want to get the best opportunity that we can available to us, and that's where the timing, and we just have to, I guess, wait a couple of weeks to just see what happens. But I know the longer we stay at number one on the liquid metal charts, the higher our chances are for better opportunities. So if you do happen to listen to that radio station, please request that song as much as possible.
Yeah, and the video is badass. Can you tell us a little bit about recording the video, The Wretched, The Ruinous over in Tokyo? That looks like that was a killer show.
It was. So we played, what were the dates? The last half of January, we played 2 shows in Tokyo, and then we played 6 or 7 shows in Australia, and a show in Taipei, Taiwan, and then came home. And the 2 shows in Tokyo were sold out, and we planned on recording the video live at the venue in Tokyo. The second, I think he took footage from both shows, and also of us walking around Tokyo and getting some ramen and hanging out with the other band. And the video crew were told that we really needed this video as quickly as possible, and so they did a really good job. They busted their ass splicing all the video clips together to put together the music video, and I think we released it 3 or 4 days after we recorded it. So it was kind of fun to be on tour releasing a music video from the same tour we were on.
Yeah, that's cool. So Fraser,
there's a message here. Fraser Dawson, who's you're playing Tokyo with?
Who are you playing?
We played with a Japanese band called Sable Hill. It wasn't baby metal, but I'll tell you what. I guess either the guitarist or one of the singers of baby metal was in attendance, and she started tweeting about Unearth, and we started trending on Twitter in Japan.
Oh wow!
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Say what you want, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. There was a bunch of weird stuff that happened when I was walking. I went to have a look at a shrine. There's this old ancient shrine in Tokyo that you can wander around. And when I was on my way there was a camera crew filming, interviewing people, and they ended up calling me over, and they asked if they could give me a quick interview. And the premise of the TV show was, what are you doing in Japan? So the TV show interviewed tourists, and the idea was, hey, what are you doing in Japan? Let's go down this rabbit hole. So that if they're interested in what you're doing, then they give a follow-up interview. So he came out to the show as well and interviewed us backstage, and it was an interesting experience. The promoter said, "You're going to be on that TV show? That's a really weird show to be on." But I thought, well, any press is good press, right?
Right.
Apparently, it's a nationwide Japanese TV show. Kind of wacky.
That's cool. That was a good place to be. Right place at the right time. It sounds like.
So you didn't have to run across a pond on bubbles or anything like that, or get hit by a big swinging arm.
I would have loved to have been in one of those game shows. That'd be so fun.
So I have a very confusing quote. Let me scroll back through what in the hell does this mean?
Eat your black pudding?
Do you know what black pudding is?
Yeah, we've missed you, Fraser. We're glad you're back, but we have no idea what.
Black pudding is sausage is a sausage in England that's made out of pig's blood, or just animal entrails and blood. It usually gets sliced and cooked and served with English breakfasts.
Okay.
Honestly, I was never a fan. I've got friends who like it. The idea is rather repulsive to me, so I never really got into it.
Here comes TJ with his English.
Is there a retort?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Some people think it's a tits.
So
Yeah.
TJ is from Forebode. We've had Forebode on the show a couple times and had them do a live thing with us. I don't know if you've heard Forebode, but man, they're a great band. You know, there's always those that rise above the other local bands. That seems like such a negative term, but man, those guys are bad ass.
That's cool. I love the artwork.
Oh my gosh, you need to hear Forebode.
That's cool. Are they from Fort Worth?
They're from
Austin.
Oh,
well,
Austin,
they're defunct now, but because they've scattered to the four winds. But we had them play in the living room. You know, kind of like you guys.
Yeah,
that's cool.
In fact, Turbid North was the first live show that we played in the living room, amongst all the others that played thereafter. But
we might want to do another warm up one before we head over to Europe to.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
We've been practicing a couple of times a week, and it's been going really well. It's nice being in a room with Jono and Nick again. The magic is still there. They're both still A-class players.
I was gonna say those two dudes are solid. I mean, and Jono Garrett is one of my favorite drummers. Just from other than the fact that he's a great guy, his drumming is just different level. It's a level above everybody else's. So
he's very dedicated to his art, and he's progressed a lot. He's been playing all over the world with his other bands that he plays. He plays in Speed Dealer and he plays in Moss Generator, and he's also in that Shock Withdrawal band with Nick Emdy. So he's always got his ear to the ground with music. And the only difference I see, for the most part, I mean, obviously he's got more. His grind ability is definitely next level these days. He's you can tell with the new album, that's where the grind element comes in. But he's also got long hair. The last time I played with him, he was complete buzzkill.
Oh, that's right.
He's got hair down to his nipples.
Well, remember was that what was that? We did like a video. Didn't he pop out of a drum case or something? Didn't we do a video for a tour?
I think he did. Yeah, there's a little. Yeah, I can't remember what tour it was.
It's time to tour.
It's time to tour. Yeah, that was a good one. We had some funny music videos. I can see I'm getting a bit dark. Hold on, let me adjust the windows.
I was gonna say, Carcass, we need to get all over that live at Casa de Carcass again.
Hey, I've got a new space. We're gonna move them back to the Texas Cafe corner, and there's actually more room back there, even though they don't need it. But let's do it, man. I'm ready. Let's do it.
I don't want to commit without the.
No, I understand.
The rest of the guys, we're a democracy these days.
Yeah.
Just remember, when they ask, you sure it's okay? The answer's already yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it'd be a good idea to get the machine
warmed up
and running. With Steve Crawford is a sound guy who used to work at Gas Monkey. Now it's called Amplified Live. I think he's working again there. He filled in on bass for us, and he said there might be an opportunity to open up some shows that are coming through in Dallas. I think there's one with Acacia Strain and Fit for an Autopsy and Full of Hell, and then there's another one with Devil Driver and Cradle of Filth. But I don't want to tread on people's toes and you know, and piss people off. It might not be appropriate for us to do that, as much as the offer's very, very kind. So we'll see. We've got 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks to cram these songs, and it's only 25 minutes, so it's not too bad, but it's been a while because we're a 3-piece band and with so much going on musically, we really have to get it right. We have to make sure our tone is right. We have to make sure our pedals are in the right settings. We have to make sure we can hear ourselves because there's a decent amount of melodic vocals on the new Turbid material where there's fifth harmonies and dynamics between two vocalists in terms of highs and lows and mids. And so it's just pretty, it's only, with that kind of music, it's only interesting if you pull it off. If you go out there and lay an egg, then, I mean, that's just a waste of time, isn't it? Waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide as a 3-piece. I mean, there's just nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
You either do or you don't.
Yeah, it's true. So we'll see. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction, so I'm happy about that.
Awesome. I'm hoping for Casa de Carcass.
Man,
bring my little camera.
Let's bring it on.
It'll be great.
We've had some great things, and like I said, they were the first ones to play here, and we had some wild times and some great shows here. But I in fact I can't remember. Was that the tour that you went to that included Denver and Amarillo and? Because I remember you played at Doom Fest in Denver, and you had quite the eye-opening experience for some of those Coloradans up there. They didn't know quite what to make of you guys.
Yeah, I always like playing Colorado because they smoke a lot of weed, and so when you put on something that's different, their eyes light up. Because you can tell everyone's in edibles or a smoking vape or something like that.
If you can, sorry, I didn't mean.
No, I was going to say, go on.
So we've just got a few more minutes, guys. If you want to throw in a question,
I got one. I want to hear a Spinal Tap moment. Every band's got a Spinal Tap moment, and you've got to have at least one.
Well, we literally just had one. We played a sold-out show in Tokyo.
Oh, wow!
and released a music video.
Yeah, but you found the stage.
We did find the stage. Almost every big venue will shout out "Hello, Cleveland." We've been to. I've got a really long story. I'll have to try to watch the details that I say. We played a festival called Silac Festival in France, and when we got back from the festival about midnight, the receptionist confessed that he'd given our rooms to another band for an unknown reason. I don't know why. He just did it. So Trevor and our merch girl, Lindsay, and I think Buzz were just standing at the reception desk arguing with this receptionist. And so Danilo, our sound guy, and myself sat down and decided to have a couple of beers. So Shane and Bill and Shane from Napalm Death, Bill and Jeff from Carcass, and would you believe it, a Bath was sitting down.
Oh wow!
And so we sat down and we made friends, obviously, because we played the fest earlier. I think I connected with Bill and Jeff over, or at least Bill. I don't think Jeff likes Chaz and Dave, if you've ever heard that band. But that's a whole rabbit hole for another podcast. But the receptionist was completely preoccupied with Trevor because he was getting more angry about these rooms. He was tired and he wanted to get to his room to go to sleep. And so we got access to a bunch of beers and proceeded to drink about 12 to 15 beers with a Bath. Now, I don't know if you know the history of a Bath, but homeboy knows how to party. and I can tell you details off the air, but let's just say it escalated to the point where police were called and we finally got in our rooms. But a Bath is advertised.
But did they have bars? Did the rooms have bars? Is the question.
Well,
and I mean like steel bars.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I know that I spoke to the guys in Napalm Death at the next festival we met up with, and they said it's funny, yeah, because Abath said he wasn't drinking on this tour, and they stepped over him. He literally passed out in the hallway of the outside his bedroom. Hope he doesn't mind me sharing that, but lovely guy.
He just doesn't remember.
He's a lovely guy. It was an absolute joy to be around. It was one of those moments. But I don't know if that's Spinal Tap enough for you, but it was a fun one.
I think that fits the bill.
Sure does.
Called, rooms were
made me laugh.
Bob passed out. This is great. This is what we like on the Metal Roundtable. The funnier, the better.
Spinal Tap is so dead on. I'm assuming that those guys actually were in bands. They must have been. They must have been, because the stories are so accurate. What's another? This is literally to do with Spinal Tap. So when we did what was the name of that tour with Iced Earth and who else? It was Iced Earth, Corplicani, Cataclysm, and Unearth. I can't remember the name of that tour. We'll have to look it up. We'll figure it out. But it was a European tour, and everyone was pretty run down after 3 weeks on tour. And at some point, I think it was in Austria, somebody put up Spinal Tap on their laptop in one of the dressing rooms. And slowly but surely, every single band member on the tour ended up congregating in the dressing room and having a beer and just watching. There was I think must have been about 20 of us at the end, just watching Spinal Tap and cheering and laughing, because it's literally your life. Spinal Tap is, that's how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been I was in a couple of, bands back in the day. Scott's been in bands. Carcass has been involved with bands. There's just so many funny things that people have no idea how bad it is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But nothing on the level of what you've done. But
I've never stepped over a Both before.
No, I haven't either.
But I have hung out with Shane Embry and Danny Herrera of Napalm Death, and yeah,
they're great dudes. They're it's always nice meeting up with those type of people. Trying to think another.
I watched Shane eat a sandwich one time before a Dallas show. He was across the restaurant by himself, and I was so nervous to go talk to him, and I regret not going and talking to Shane, because I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know much about Napalm Death. I knew they were, uber elite grind, but I regret not going and talking to him, because everybody says he's just a lovely dude.
Yeah, all of those guys in Napalm Death are great. Even Barney, I mean, he's really dedicated to being a vegan. I've never seen anybody backstage grill the catering staff about exactly what is in every single dish, but he's really serious about making sure no animal products have touched any of it. And I asked him about it because I'll often go vegetarian in Europe, because catering's so good for the most part. And it's easy to lose weight. I did when I did the Aslay Dying run, I ate vegetarian. I still drank the same amount of booze as I normally do, but I just ate vegetarian, and I lost 20 pounds. So it does make a difference. And so I could see how you could get into it, but there comes a limit.
He's really into it, yeah. Because we, the last time, or one of the last times they played here, we were backstage, and they were just, Barney's just a very nice, engaging, genuine person, and
yes, he is.
His stage banter is second to none. Rob had never had the Napalm Death experience, and I said, "You're about ready to watch your head bounce down the interstate, because these guys are going to tear your head off," and he actually liked them.
Oh, they're great.
It was awesome.
I loved it. And the stage moves are second to none.
The swatting bees.
Yeah. And the running in place, and I love it.
I was liken it to a really angry, disturbed child having a tantrum.
Yeah.
did it make sense? It makes sense when you're watching Napalm Death that's what's being portrayed. You know.
Yep.
I love Napalm.
Oh, I've seen them twice now, and I thought they were fantastic. And
by the way, I just sent you that Time to Tour video, guys. So you'll need to
I
check
saw
that
that.
out.
Yeah, thanks.
Feel free to check out the New Turbid North videos as well. Nick put a lot of effort into those things, and they're blended very well with the songs that have been released. So I think you'll get a kick out of those too if you get a chance.
I will head down that rabbit
I'll check out
as soon as we're done here.
Yeah, he sent me I had seen him at the Dallas Fort Worth Metal Fest, and he was there kind of for the same reason, to support friends and family, because it really honestly wasn't our cup of tea, but friends and family kind of take precedent. But I talked to him at length, and he did send me 4 songs to choose, and I did play them on the Friday show that I do, the Crypt, and and I really love Slaves. That's one of my favorite tracks. And
that's the quick one, isn't it? It's like minute 40 or something. Yeah.
So but yeah, it's very, very reminiscent of it's almost like it's out of phase. It should have been Eyes Alive, then Orogeny, then I don't know. It just seems like they're drawing on from some of those previous influences, and it's really as I listened to it again, because you and I had our initial discussion about it, and as I listened to it more, I appreciate just the prowess and the technical aspect and the and what went into it. It really is great.
Thanks, man. You know, we recorded the album a long time ago. I think it was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the problems that we've run into with the last album releases is it felt like maybe it was our overinflated sense of ego, but we always felt like we were ahead of our time. Well, we recorded this 6 years ago, so maybe this will actually be relevant to what's going on now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes down. But I'm pretty sure that there's more gender bending type bands in metal these days than there used to be. I'm trying to think of the bands like that are very popular these days. Protest the Hero, Periphery. There's quite a few out there that are
Animals as Leaders. They're sort of
ultra progressive. Yeah, I mean, just this, and I mean, even bands like Ginger, Spirit Box. There's a bunch out there that are blending extremes and managing to fit them in a. Well, there you go. Beyond Creation. Yeah, perfect example. Yeah, so I feel like maybe there'll be more opportunities and Turbid North will fit into a hole a little bit easier than we might have if we'd released the record 6 years ago. But who knows? We'll see how this album goes.
I think that especially when you witness it every night, and that time that I drove you guys around for a bit, everyone was so blown away by the amount of equipment that you used to bring to the venue. I remember specifically the White Swan down in Houston that had such a small, tiny stage.
Yeah, the guys who insisted on double stacking. I always thought that was ridiculous, but I mean, you know.
And the fact of the matter is everyone had the same reaction. It was like, wow, it's like they didn't expect it because it was so overwhelmingly great.
Well, that's very kind of you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what rehearsal will do. Rehearsal will do that.
I mean,
too. We just rehearse so furiously.
Right. So, but I still remember watching people and watching them literally like a toad in a hailstorm, like, holy cow, like, what am I witnessing here? And but it goes to your work ethic for sure. And I used to hear it every, just right out here. It was awesome. It was never loud, never too loud, never.
It's going to be exciting to see how this band goes down on a big stage. Nick's always been a big fan of Misery Index, as have all we. Year of the Knife are a really cool band, like definitely more hardcore. And there's a band from Sweden, Leech. I think they're more melodic. Mm-hmm. So it should be a nice experience for everyone.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Well, guys, we are just at the end of the show here, but I want to say, Chris, thank you so much for saving my shirt. Thank you for coming back on the show. And I absolutely enjoyed the Turbid North history lesson leading into Unearth. And so you guys kick off the tour April 5th in Eindhoven. So if you're overseas watching this, check out. It's April 5th through June 16th. They're going to be around for a few weeks over in that part of the world. And you can
No, that's not right. It's not. Oh. It starts April 1st and it finishes the 21st. I think you might have. We originally were planning on it being 4 weeks, and we changed it around because of the schedule of Misery Index and the guys on Earth. So I believe it starts. Okay. If you check a different website, it might need to be updated. But I believe the first show is in Dortmund because that's where we fly into. Okay. And I think the last show is in Gothenburg. We have 3 shows in the UK, 3 shows in the UK, and then Northern Europe and Scandinavia as well. So.
Okay, yep. I'm looking at something that must not be updated.
So no Eindhoven date?
And there might be the Eindhoven date. I just know that we're not starting in Eindhoven. We're starting in...
Okay.
Yeah.
That's typically a pretty good fest.
I think
that's one of my favorites.
Your website is pulling that in from... the Bands in Town site. So yeah, Bands in Town doesn't have all the dates.
Okay. Oh well. Red tape, eh?
I know, right? But thanks again for coming on the show, man. And guys, if you have any questions about Turbid North, please.
I just saw a question that came up earlier, and I've been drinking cold beer because I have a cooler down here.
Yes. He drinks his beer cold, Fraser. Hard-hitting questions, you know.
Well, when I was in Europe, they were serving all kinds of playing shows out there. It was always warm beers like this.
Yeah, they don't set their fridges as cold in Europe, and they don't have an HVAC infrastructure like we do in America. They don't have a particularly good HVAC infrastructure in Australia, would you believe? But they always have a breeze from the sea, so maybe they don't need it so much.
Oh, man. And I'm in here when it's 67, turning the air down, make it colder. Yeah,
the other thing when I was over there that drove me nuts was trying to get a bottle of water for the stage that wasn't soda water.
Oh, the fizzy water. Yeah, you don't want fizzy water on stage. It'll make you burp.
Nope.
Come on, Scott.
Well, this is fun. I appreciate it, guys.
It was a lot of fun.
We Unearth have been around for a long time, and this is honestly, I think this is the first interview I've ever done.
Really
like this, so it was a fun experience. And
while we were chatting,
So go on.
Sorry, because while we were chatting, I bought the Erogyny and the Eyes Alive album. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah. And
I'll buy the new one too as soon as it's available in some sort of physical format.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check out the physical.
Anytime you guys want to come to a show, just let me know. Unearth is like dog shit. We get everywhere.
As long as it doesn't smell like dog shit, we're good.
Well, and one of the best things that we've ever had associated with the show was coming to Warped Tour, seeing you guys play, and actually getting to watch from the stage.
We were on stage. Man, it was impressive. It was really awesome. Oh my gosh,
that was so much fun. And so thanks for the opportunity. That was awesome.
Always, anytime. Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, you can catch me on Instagram at Metal Rob's Records. You can find Carcass on Instagram at CarcassJohnArt. You can follow Scott and his 1 billion subscribers by going to YouTube and simply searching Scott Waters. Unearth, easy to find. Turbid North, easy to find. But I'm telling you, if you don't believe in the combination of Pink Floyd and death metal, if you don't trust me, trust the Carcass, because he turned me on to it. So anyway, thanks again, Chris, for coming on. And you boys know how we do it. Until next time, if I get the show closed ready, I'm vamping. Here we go. Until next time, metal will prevail.
Now we look all evil.
Yeah, you gotta be evil.
You gotta look evil or goofy, whatever.
Evil.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Later.